of Educators, which is a state affiliate of the National Education Association, a teacher union. Lisa, thank you for making the time. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can, and thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being here and tough circumstances to discuss here, but we want your perspective and the perspective of your fellow educators. Let's start with this. When you heard the news that that jury convicted Colin Gray, what was your reaction?
My reaction was once again, it's extremely unfortunate that we are in this situation. Um, as educators, we are focused on the success of our students, and tragedies like this that bring violence from the community into our school have long reaching consequences for our students, for educators, and obviously for those who are directly involved.
And Lisa, you rightly describe it as a tragedy, as the only word to use for this. 4 people killed, 9 injured, long lasting, lifelong ramifications for those who did survive. Lisa, how has the role of educators changed in the last few decades? We've seen a much broader adoption of lockdown drills, and some have said that the role of teachers has expanded greatly beyond just the pure role of teaching.
It certainly has. Educators are in these situations, and because we have these situations happening, educators are now being asked to, in that situation, are you prepared to give up your life to protect your students? And then we practice, and then we have lockdown drills. And as a kindergarten teacher, I can tell you that's something, keeping a group of children quiet for 15 minutes, and they truly don't understand at that young age. And once they begin to understand, that fear that is ingrained in all of our students, that a situation like this might happen at their school. Our schools should be the safest place that children enter during their lives. Their home and their school should be where they feel safe and comfortable. And the fact that these things happen take away that feeling of safety from our students and obviously educators.
Lisa, what kind of conversations are you and your fellow educators having with students here in Georgia? I know a lot of young people were following this trial very closely.
I think the conversations with our children are about we try to emphasize that this is very rare and that we don't think it will ever happen in our school, but we must be prepared for all emergency situations. So we have the lockdown drill, we practice. But it's also conversations that we need to be having with our parents, because educators and parents, we have a partnership, and that partnership must be focused on the success of our students. And of course, safety is one of those components that must be present in order for students to learn.
And Lisa, you talk about that partnership between parents and students. To broaden it out one degree, it's if I'm hearing you right, it's a partnership between the parents, the home, and the whole broader community of educators and professionals inside the school system. I want to ask you something that stood out during the trial of Colin Gray. According to records that were presented in that trial, Colt Gray, the accused shooter in this case, who's pleaded not guilty and is yet to stand trial, Colt Gray had a history of missing school. He missed his entire 8th grade year. How does somebody slip through the cracks like that?
I think that's one of the things that, as educators, we are certainly always cognizant of students who are not in school. But when you have that situation where the child is missing the entire year, what typically happens is the child was on the roll for the 8th grade, and when they never start and those first 10 days come and they are not there, they are withdrawn. And as educators, it's okay, well, maybe they moved and didn't notify the current school that they had moved. But that student attendance is something that educators are very much aware of, because it does have significant impacts on our students' success academically. Um, that lack of social interaction with their peers is also detrimental. And in fact, it's something that the legislator is looking at. There are a couple of bills in the legislature this year addressing student attendance because our decision makers are seeing that student absences and a significant number of student absences is an important issue that we need to be talking about to ensure our students are in school and in class where they should be.
You talk about the policy implications. Let me ask you a couple questions about that. Let's start with
Yes.
this. Recruiting and retaining teachers is a challenge and an ongoing conversation. Do incidents of school violence like this make it harder to get teachers in the door, get competent, qualified teachers in the door, and keep them in the classroom longer?
I would not say that incidents like this are a significant determiner of whether someone is going to become an educator. I think our aspiring educators who become educators view this as a very rare incident. And like most educators, we have this belief it's not going to be my school. And most aspiring educators who are entering are focused on students. So I think the things policymakers can most do to entice them to continue their path and become educators and remain educators is the day to day issues. I think those weigh more in decisions that current educators make whether they continue and aspiring educators make whether they will enter our profession.
Lisa, one last question for you on the policy front, and then we're going to let you go. We appreciate your perspective here. You said earlier in our conversation, schools should be the safest place that our students go to. If you're talking to legislators, if they're watching right now, what would you like to see be turned into law at the state level, at the municipal level, to achieve that goal in your view?
Legislators are making decisions and passing laws about our schools, but I think they to truly understand the issues inside our schools, we have to realize that schools are a reflection of their community. And when we have violence in our communities, that comes into the school, whether directly or indirectly with our students. So I would encourage, as I have often done, our legislators to look at the communities our children live in so that we can make them be safe as well. So when our students come to school, those issues aren't being brought in the front door with them.
Lisa Morgan, the president of the Georgia Association of Educators, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.